What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. The Dodgers went 500 on the road. Pages is still in his all-star run. And how will the team stack up against the mighty Braves this weekend? All that and more coming up next. Hello and welcome back again. Anthony and I are your co-hosts tonight. Before we get started, we're going to tell you about DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest coverage on the Los Angeles Dodgers. It is your one-stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat and check out DodgersBeat.com. Hello, Anthony. What is going on? How you doing, my friend?
What's up, Drea? I've been doing pretty good. It was a little bit of a long day at work, but thankfully it's Friday tomorrow. It's actually funny. Growing up, I really didn't get the phrase or understand the phrase "Thank God it's Friday." But now that I've kind of been in the workforce for a little while, I enjoy Fridays now because that means I get 2 days off in a row, especially with Mother's Day this weekend. So it's gonna be a nice little like hanging out time with family and friends. So I'm excited for the weekend.
Oh man, yeah, Mother's Day is on deck. That's going to be awesome. But yeah, I've been in the workforce since I was 16, and I don't even know what it's like to not be. First job was Magic Mountain, though. Can't say it was that crazy. It gets, a little more intense as you get older. Body starts
Yeah,
to change. But yeah, how long have you been in the workforce? Did you get fired?
man. I No, I got lucky. So my first 2 years in college, I focused on solely that, which was school. But afterwards, when I turned, I think either 19 or 20 around that, that's kind of when I kind of got introduced to the workforce, and I've been working since.
Yeah, it's a grind, but you know what? I'd have it no other way. I've been lucky and I've met some of the most, pivotal people in my life from my job. So shout out to all of them. But yeah, we're here to talk about the Dodgers. We got through the month of April and it was an interesting one. Kind of had a strong start and then they've been back and forth, kind of reflective of what we saw on this past road trip. But put on your teacher hat for a second. You know, I'm a teacher. What grade would you give them before we break down each series? What do they get for the month of April, Anthony?
Man, see, I'm a harsh grader. I think I'd give them a solid C because there
Wow.
are very much areas of improvement, and as we can see, like throughout the offense and stuff like that, the offense is the reason why they're getting a C. Because I think if you look solely on starting rotation, A. If you look at bullpen, you look at A. You look at the fan experience and all that, A. It's just the offense that's really been the key issue. It's been sometimes they look like wow, they scored 8 runs, they're dominating, they've gotten putting guys on base, they're doing all the little things right. And then sometimes you look at them like, damn, it's the seventh inning. We only got 3 hits. Like, is that all we're gonna get today? So for me, the key issue for them has been offensively. Thankfully, the starting rotation has kind of given them enough to be competitive enough in these games, but it's starting to kind of like eke its ugly face because guys are starting to get a little bit frustrated. I think Shohei was the perfect example of that in that Astros game where he's
Yeah.
out there, he's dominating, and like these guys are just providing him absolutely nothing. And you can finally see like on the mound, you can see like he's starting to feel a little bit frustrated and stuff like that in the moment, just because like he knows he's doing his job, but like the guys aren't picking it up and stuff like that. So ultimately, I think I'd go with a C. The offense has really been hampering them down basically the start of this month or the start of April.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why they don't give him. He bought him watches, Anthony.
Yeah,
$1,000 watches, and they give the guy no rent support. I don't understand. But I mean, all things considered, I guess producer Raj made the prediction that they were going to go 500. Well, it could have
yeah.
been, but okay. All things considered, I'll live with it. But yeah, why are they drunk off inning-ending double plays? What is up with that? It seemed like it was every play.
I don't know. It's so frustrating too because you feel like yeah we finally got someone on base and like immediately right away it's like it's over the threat's just gone. I don't know if it's just like them pressing at the moment off at the plate, like they're just trying to do too much, or they're just getting bad luck. I mean, that game against the Cardinals was just insane. It felt like every inning we had a guy on, and then like immediately after, it's just
Mhm.
an inning-ending double play or just a double play to end the momentum and stuff like that. So sometimes it was just bad base running. Guys got caught off, not paying attention, stuff like that. So hopefully it's in the past. I did say in the last show that I didn't think they would wake up on this road trip. I thought they were just going to sleepwalk their way through, and they essentially did. I thought the series that's coming up tomorrow, starting against Atlanta, is when they're going to kind of show up, and they kind of have to. If you look at the pitching matchups they have, they're facing Atlanta's very best, basically Sale, Strider, and I
Right?
forget who the other person is off the top of my head at least. But For me, I think that's kind of when they'll start taking things seriously. They probably should have took the Cardinals seriously. That's a very good young team that kind of had all the energy of the world. And the theme going around Dodgers Twitter was the geriatric Dodgers, the old Dodgers, basically. Like you look at our side and like there's no energy, there's no nothing. Like guys are moving at a snail's pace and stuff like that. And like there's just no more clear example of it than like Freddie Freeman when he runs the bases because noticeably you can tell he's noticeably lost like a step, and I think it's ultimately due to that ankle injury that he had in the World Series where he kind of just had to grind through it. I think he kind of did more damage to it
Yeah.
just playing through it instead of like just getting the surgery. But I think if you asked him, he'd do it again because he guaranteed a World Series basically, and he won a World Series last year. So, I mean, we are getting a little bit older. I know there's like kind of like this outroar for like a youth movement, but I think that youth movement is kind of a year away with all the guys that we have down in AAA kind of like not want to say like removing these guys, but they're going to make a good case for themselves in the offseason to be like a very necessary replacement for, I don't know, someone on the roster right now.
Well, as the screen says, reinforcements are on the way, but we'll get into that as the show goes on. But I mean, I think one of the highlights of the Cardinals series, I mean, the Cardinals, give them credit. They came to play, right? But I think Justin Robleski, he's not letting up. And you think, okay, he's been having pretty consistent, solid outings. I mean, we know that the roster is going to be ever changing all season. But do you think that he's making like a solid case for himself to keep himself in the rotation as, we are going to see changes in the future, near future?
Yeah, I think he's kind of solidified himself as a starter going forward. I think the debate right now is between Sheehan and Roki. But now with the uncertainty of the Tyler Glasnow injury news, I think he was supposed to get an MRI tomorrow or today, and they'll release the results of it tomorrow. So hopefully it's just what it was, a back spasm. His back just kind of tightened up on him. But if you read reports back in 2024, he had a similar issue and he was out for 3 weeks. So I think these guys kind of just have to stay ready in the moment. Right now, it might look like, hey, like you might get sent back down to AAA, but who knows? In like a week or two, you might be right back up because someone else went back down and they're going to be out for a while. So it's such a crappy position to be at because you really don't know. Like you might be up here with a big league team for for like a month, and then all of a sudden there's not a spot for you, and you have to go back down to AAA and kind of work things out. But at the same time, you have to stay ready because that moment can be basically the next day.
Yeah, it could be. And I think you called it last episode because I mean, we kind of had a feeling at some point Glasnow was going to have a moment where, it's not going to be out there the entire season. I think ultimately they want him out for and ready for the playoffs. But we know how he is. He wants to contribute, but we knew there was going to be a moment of, okay, is it cramps? Is it going to be just for this? What's going to happen? Robert said he doesn't expect him to land on the IL. Of course, we don't know until we have the MRI results, but he has said that he's consistently had back problems throughout his career. So, it could be nothing, it could be something. But it doesn't sound too bad, right? I think we have to kind of just
No.
see. I think we'll be all right. I know we're kind of jumping, but I just wanted to ask you, we got news just not too long ago. I mean, we kind of heard that Mookie was going to be doing, I guess, a AAA outing, I guess this weekend, possibly to come back for Fabian or Diet as soon as Monday. So could that be something to like say, hey, you know what? The offense could use a little Mookie to shake them up a little bit.
Yeah, the funny thing is, normally when you talk about like struggling offenses, you're thinking about like 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters, like just the guys who are not going to be your top guys, are not going to be the superstars, but it's kind of reversed. Like those guys are kind of doing all the dirty work and kind of carrying the top guys. The top guys are the ones who are really like not putting up their MVP or like superstar numbers. So I hope Mookie kind of just slots back in and perfectly at the number 2 spot. And you go Shohei, Mookie, then you go Freeman, and then you go Tucker. They eventually have to figure it out. But we've been saying this for a year, since last year. Like, oh, this team is too talented not to figure it out. This team is too talented not to figure it out. And we went through the entirety of the World Series and they never figured it out. So it might just be one of those years where, again, where like we're talking about like this in like June and July, and we're like, look, the Dodgers just got to get on a hot stretch and figure things out. And we might be in September and October talking about, well, if they do ever figure it out and click, like this team could be like a real threat to three-peat. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's kind of just like the missing piece for this top of the rotation or top of the lineup because 6, 7, 8 through 9, I really can't complain about because I really had no expectations for them and they're far exceeding them.
They are far exceeding them. But then I think kind of like I'll circle back to that in a second. But I was thinking, this week, when you have like these veteran stars, you have Freddie Freeman. He had a whole career with the Braves before coming here, won a World Series. You've had Mookie Betts, won a World Series before coming here. Now they come here, they have even more success. You have Shohei, even though he was with the Angels, he still had, incredible accolades when he was with them, and you see him winning MVPs. Do you think that the guys that are at the top of the lineup, maybe not producing like we want them to right now, they just know that at the end of the day, they know that it's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. They know that there's time to turn it up at a certain point. But then you bring up that point right now that we didn't really see that even through the World Series. They played like shit against the Blue Jays, and they still won, because the right place at the right time. But do you think the veteran status sometimes can be like a little of a double-edged sword for us?
Yeah, it can be a little bit because again, these guys are not going to go all out in May, early May, which is the frustrating part. And I can see why people want youth, like fresh blood, to kind of lighting things up and stuff like that. But I'll use the example of like Dalton Rushing is that fresh blood, but he doesn't play every day. He plays every other day, and he's kind of being villainized for like acting a certain way too as well. Like he's providing a spark. Yeah, it's not necessarily in a good way. And he kind of came out today and said like, hey, like I compete in a certain way. I compete at a certain level. Like if I'm taking it too far, like I don't want it. I don't want guys on other teams to kind of think like I'm an a-hole basically. But this is kind of the way I play, and I respect that perspective because he's like, look, I'm not gonna change the way I play. Like either you like it or you're not.
Yeah.
And for the most part, you haven't heard a single Dodger veteran complain about the way he's acting in the clubhouse. Not a single like negative thought. So if I'm in my mindset, I'm like, okay, if it bothers the other team, like, why do I care? You don't hear like a Freddie Freeman come out to the media and saying like, hey, like he's got to calm down, stuff like that, or like you don't hear like a Mookie Betts going like, hey, like yeah, he's like taking it over too far. Like, so this is just the way that he plays and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Again, it's gonna be hard because we do have a lot of guys who are kind of like under the radar, kind of chill personalities. Like they don't take things too far. They're one day at a time, grind, 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 one game at a time. So it might take until you face an actual level of a team where you think like, okay, there's actual competition here. Like we might face these guys, and I think that series is going to provide for us here against Atlanta because you're not going to be able to duck smoke. You're going to have to face it. This is a team where I think you potentially might face an NLDS or an NLCS, and they're throwing their best guns at you basically, and you got to go out there and got to respond.
Yeah, and I think we have to see it. And I think one of the worries about the Braves series is that, yeah, you mentioned earlier in the show that we're not going to have, our super aces on the mound. But then at the same time, we can talk about the last series as we transition that we just saw. When Yoshi and Shohei pitch, they literally get no run support, like zero. And you've seen a little bit more run support with our non-super aces, if you will. So could that be a good thing? Could like Atlanta go in thinking, oh, we're not going to see Shohei and Yoshi and, the big dogs, so to speak, and maybe just kind of think that it's just going to be more of a cakewalk for them than normal.
It could be, but at the same time, I think Atlanta is going to treat this series as a potential playoff preview, even though it's insane to say it's in May. But I don't think they're going to underestimate a Robleski, a Sheehan, maybe a Sasaki even, just because they've done it right now for well, at least for on Robleski's side, he's proven for a month that he's a major league pitcher, and
Yeah.
Sheehan last year was kind of proving it as well too. He's kind of had a rough start to the year. The one guy that I think they might attack is Roki, just because of his prior command issues and he's susceptible to the home run ball and stuff like that. But I think he had a really solid start against St. Louis. Again, he just wasn't provided any run support. Only ended up giving those 3 runs in that game. But for me, I think every start that he's had, I know he's going to be the odd man out. I think we all have a feeling that he's going to be the one who's going to be sent to the minor leagues, unfortunately. But I think if you look at it from the start of the season, the hell, even the start of spring training, he's improved slowly and slowly and slowly, but surely. It's just been a slow process, which is kind of frustrating to a lot of fans. Like he's not at the level of like speed production as like a Robleski, where you see it like right away, like wow, this guy's built off it, built off it, and built off it.
Mhm.
He's just kind of been a slow, gradual like progression that it's frustrating that he's the odd man out. But I do kind of want to still see more of his starts up here in the major league level, kind of just to kind of see what else he has.
So kind of sticking with Rogi for a second, because I sit and I think probably way too much about him and, our rotation and kind of what we're going to see as we get towards playoffs. What do you think attributed to the fact that, how he struggled about a year ago? He went down to AAA and then, comes back for playoffs and he was just, a demon. And then, spring training comes, they try to kind of mix, like kind of increase his pitch mix. And then he seems to kind of have a regression. Do you think it's just the kind of the process of maybe the, like, regular season, maybe the heat isn't turned up enough yet, but during that time, he's one of those people that just locks in a la Kike, when the time
Yeah.
is, could it be that? What do you think? It's interesting to me.
It is interesting. It could be that where the pressure is at the ultimates. Sometimes guys that don't perform in the regular season are like they ramp it up and stuff like that. No better example of that, Kike Hernandez. Like Kike Hernandez, he said himself, like it's just too much during the regular season. 162 games, you're going from grind to grind to grind. Sometimes you wake up in a city, you realize like what day of the week it is and stuff like that, compared to the postseason where at the very minimum, you're guaranteed at least 3 games in an NLDS because you can go three and out and lose. So it's easier to kind of wire in on what your matchup is. Like, okay, I'm going to face, I'll use the Giants for example. Today I'm playing the Giants in the game one. I'm going to get Logan Webb. Logan Webb has this pitch mix. Okay, he likes to use his fastball more, this, and that, all sorts of stuff. So it's easier to kind of condense and be like, okay, for today, my main focus is how do I get on base against a Logan Webb. So maybe for Sasaki, it was kind of easy for him to be like, okay, even shorten it down. He's going to be in the bullpen. So at the most, you might only get 1 inning. So these might be the potential 3 batters that you're going to face for a team.
Yeah.
It's a very much easier game plan. Okay, you might be coming in the ninth inning. You're going to face, I don't know, well, you're going to face Trey Turner. You're going to face Kyle Schwarber. And you're going to face Bryce Harper. These are their weaknesses. These is what their strengths are. Find a game plan to solution against them, basically. So maybe it was kind of just like less is more. Like, okay, we're gonna trust you in the situation, but we're gonna give you less information compared to as a starter because from a
Mm,
starter you got to start against 1 through 9. Now you got to think about the guys that got on the bench that could be brought in as potential pinch hit situations. Now you got to know what guys' tendencies are on the base paths and stuff like that. Is Trey Turner going to steal second base on me? This, and that, hit and runs, all that. So maybe just like the less is more for him, at least to start. Uh, Especially just bringing him off missing so much time for injury and stuff like that. It
yeah.
kind of was out of necessity too because we didn't have any arms in the bullpen. So I think that's effectively why it worked. But then you saw against a very good team against Toronto where they found his weaknesses and they're like, no, we're going to exploit your weaknesses. The other previous teams couldn't. So now we're going to game plan against you. And
Mm,
Roki ended up essentially losing his closing job there towards the end, and he had to rely on Yamamoto to be Yamamoto basically. So, but I feel
right.
like it's kind of been a wait and see. Maybe in the postseason when we get there again, he's kind of like he's ranched it up. He's back up to like okay, like these games matter, and he's back to being the rookie of old. But I kind
Yeah.
of like to see the slow progression, and it's a little frustrating, but I do think he's progressing.
No, you're right. And I think we need to give kind of credence to some of these points because he is being talked about league wide, like what's up with Roki? What's the solution? And maybe the fact that you talk about condensed information might be a strong suit for him. He's able to zero in on exactly what he needs to do. Um, the Dodgers, obviously, the coaches and the people who see him every day know way more than we'll probably ever know. But do you think catching has anything to do with it? Because I was watching with my mom the other day and we were talking about do you think like, obviously we have two amazing catchers, but Will Smith being, more of the long term, catcher for the Dodgers. And do you think maybe Roki, having Smith, behind the plate versus, rushing, could that make a difference?
It could make a difference. Like if you look at Kershaw, Kershaw's personal catcher for a while there was AJ Ellis, and then it slowly evolved where he AJ Ellis was off the team and he had to build relationships with like a
Yeah.
Yasmani Grandal or eventually an Austin Barnes and then eventually a Will Smith and stuff like that. So maybe he's more comfortable with a rushing. Maybe he's more comfortable with the Smith. Ideally, I would love him to be comfortable with both. I would
Yeah.
love our law guys to be comfortable with both because we saw it in the postseason last year. We had no catchers and we had to rely on Ben Rodbit, and he had to build that trust basically in what like 2 weeks maybe. And you saw it. Guys are kind of comfortable with it. But if you bring a guy in like a road vet and you heard from other guys like, yeah, like I trust him, like he has a solid game plan. I see the way he prepares. I see the way he works. Like I trust him. Like I'm gonna let him call his game and stuff like that. So ultimately, it comes back down to trusting your teammates. At that point, if Brokey trusts both of them, he should be fine. Ultimately, it's just that mental gap, getting over that mental gap of like it always happens to be the third inning. I feel like the third inning is kind of where like it slowly starts to unravel. And like if he gets past that, I think there's a really good solid major league pitcher there.
I think it's mental. I think some of it is just mental. It's like, this is the place that gives me trouble. And I think with all of us, we have that thing in life that just like, oh, this is what has caused me problems in the past. And then we just let it get in our head too much. And then, history repeats itself. But I think that, we haven't seen the last of Roki's dominance. If anything, he's just starting his career. And we need to remember that he's developing. And I think that, the talent is clearly there, just a matter of refining it. But yeah, moving along to the Astros series, the hated ones. We know that there's not too many players left from that 2017 series, but I still think that, based on the fan reaction, based on the chatter, and the just kind of, I guess the popularity of still seeing the Astros versus the Dodgers, it still gains, traction on social media. It's still, people still talk about it. Will it always leave a bad taste in our mouth when we go up against these guys, even though there's hardly any of them left?
I don't know. See, I have a different perspective on it now. It's kind of been we're close to almost 10 years of it happening.
Wow.
I think next year would be 10 years, right? Yeah, it'd be 10 years since it happened.
My
And
God.
there's still a little bit of it like on social media, but not as much as it was when it first started coming out, trickling out. And now having been in Houston and
Mm-hmm.
like being around Astro fans, like and we were rolling in like Dodger jerseys and Dodgers gears, and they honestly didn't care. They were more concerned about like why does my team suck, basically. That's kind of like the issue they have, and like their team does suck. They're not a really good baseball team. The only two guys that are left on that team are Altuve and Correa. Correa's out for the year too, so at this point, like when I see them, I want to see them like fail like spectacularly, like when that strikeout that Altuve had, where like that Photoshop of him like using himself to like still miss at strike three. That's kind of more where I'm at, like just little petty stuff here and there. Like I don't really have hatred for them anymore. I've had three championships to celebrate. I have something that they weren't able to do during that window, back-to-back championships. The cherry on top would be if we go three-peat. I don't think anyone can probably match that apart from the Yankees from like early on and stuff like that. So I just don't have it anymore. Like it was funny seeing the when I was at the stadium for the WBC and you're kind of just exploring and stuff like that, seeing all the memorabilia and stuff like that. There was like a little bit of like damn, I can't believe they have this up here. But at the same time, I was like, you know what, just move on. Them having the 2017 flag is also kind of hilarious too. But just staring at it, but at the same time, you know what, whatever. Like they got it. Move on. I think time has helped heal wounds. I think the thought of seeing like Kershaw end with three rings is awesome. You know what also helped? It was more of like what happened the next year in 2018, where we just completely got wiped out by the Red Sox. That I felt more frustrated about that one because I really thought like, damn, we got this far and like we got to the World Series and we just weren't competitive. Or the Red Sox were actually a really really good team, but I think I was more upset against that one because I'm like, I don't know if this team is ever going to get over the hump. I think that one mentally broke me more than 2017 because I thought like that might have been it. I don't know if this team is going to get back there, and thankfully they did. So I really just don't harbor any like bad feelings towards Astro fans. I think it's just more funny to like troll them and be petty now at this point.
I think the only thing that bothers me when I think back to it is, besides Kershaw would have had, four rings, is the fact that the year that, some of my favorite players, the 2020 championship, still a legit championship. We've heard everything, but I've always loved Bellinger. I love Turner. I love some of our classic players that I remember from the 2020 and previous seasons. They didn't get the parade, and we've seen the footage now from 2020, 2025 of how amazing it was for the Dodgers to be able to get on those buses to see the millions of people that are just, well, felt like millions, and maybe it was, I don't know what the numbers were, but just that emotion that you see the players had, and they didn't quite get that part, and I feel like that's the one thing that I would have loved for them. And when I think about the Astros, they like kind of they ripped that from us. Yeah, it all worked out in the end, and I think that karma comes right back. And I'm petty. I was quite happy when I saw the Altuve strike.
Yeah,
I hate injuries, but I can't say that I didn't, kind of have a little amusing chuckle when I saw the Korea news. But that being said, that's all coming from the 2017, situation. But at the end of the day, it all worked out. We have legit championships, and we're probably going to even have more, in the near future, thanks to the way that the Dodgers set themselves up. So all in all, it's going to be all right. But yeah, some fans, I don't think they're ever going to let it go. Some people are like, it's a sore spot. But speaking of something that did go super well during the Astros series, we did obviously win the series, but we got to talk again. And I know we've talked about before, but Andy Pages, top of baseball right now. The man has 8 home runs on the season, 3 just yesterday alone, drove in 6 runs, batting .336, 33 RBIs on the season. And this morning, MLB Network called him, or so said about him, you could make the argument that he's been the Dodgers' best offensive player. Hands down, I think he's the best position player on the Dodgers. I don't think there's an argument about it. Give me your take. He is phenomenal right now.
Yeah, I don't think it is an argument. I don't think it's even close. It's just the way some of our guys have been struggling. I think Pajes has been the early MVP of the team. I think yesterday's game was actually a nice little sigh of relief. He's kind of been scuffling there for like a week or two and finally had that breakout game yesterday. I know that third home run was against a position player, but still counts in all the books. It doesn't matter if it's me throwing out there to him. But for me, he's a big piece for us in the outfield going forward. I think he's kind of the main guy out there at least because we don't know with like Kyle Tucker whether he's going to opt out, opt in. Teoscar, I know only has one more year after this, and of course we've harpered on like the young guys that are in AAA, kind of like knocking at the door, and I think they're going to look at Andy Pajes as the perfect example. As a here's a guy who was a rookie in 2024, wasn't really getting that much playing time with the team, but was brought into that NLCS series and played very well for us against the Mets and kind of earned his keep going forward. And then there's the following year where he finally earns that starting spot, but he struggles immensely off the gate, and everyone's kind of like, we got to send him back to AAA, got to send him back to AAA. Can't trust this dude, can't trust this dude. High strikeout stuff like that, and then he earns his way back onto the team, basically by just shutting up. He never really talks apart from like interviews and stuff like that, but he kind of puts his head down and grinds away. And like, okay, no, I belong here. But again, I think it's with young players, it's the uncertainty of not knowing, and you don't know how they're going to react to like, okay, you're on the team, but in a week or two, you might be sent back down. So it's a lot to deal with, especially for a team as the caliber as us, where you kind of have superstar, and you look around, well, like, I know that guy's not going to lose his job because he has this
Right.
long of a contract and he makes this much. And then you look around and like, well, I know that guy's not going to lose his job because he's a superstar of the team. So it's kind of like a lot of pressure to kind of put on your plate as a young guy, kind of trying to make yourself in the league. But I think he's kind of handled that well. And I think he's going to keep handling that well, and it's going to earn himself an all-star spot here in July.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, you really do have to think about the emotional side of the game. When we go out there, we want to see play production, but these young guys are looking around and they're not just seeing all stars, they're seeing Hall of Famers. You're looking at some of the best that will ever play the game. And those are the people that are standing right next to them in the dugout. I mean, the amount of pressure and the ability to control your emotions and control, like, not let the game speed up on you, knowing that, yeah, you don't have the long-term contract yet. Anything can happen. You see guys that were just here last year that are now playing for teams that are, not necessarily going to win a World Series anytime soon. And that's hard because the way it is, it's a business. It's a game, but it's a business at the end of the day, and they know that. So credit to the young guys who are able to hold their own against, playing across from Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani. It's incredible. But one that is our player that we've kind of had back and forth about during the month of April. And we saw some production of him from him during the Astro series. Kyle Tucker, 5 hits during the series, home run, 2 doubles. I mean, we're seeing improvement. I know that he kind of took a lot of hits and, by the analysts and by the fan base over the month of April. But are you seeing that kind of like balancing out just a little bit in the last week?
Yeah. And with Tucker, I think he's kind of slowly figuring it out. Again, it's been a little frustrating here early part of the season. Hopefully being back in Houston kind of motivated him a little bit. Getting booed by Astro fans, which is insane because he got traded. It's not like he had a choice there. Um, for me, ultimately, I think he's a big piece for us because he's kind of been like that one inconsistent in the lineup. I hate to like single him out because there's a lot of other players that have been inconsistent, but it feels every time we're in a big situation, like, and he's up there, like, oh, he's just gonna pop up. Oh, he's gonna strike out. Oh, he's gonna roll over and stuff like that. So for me, and then some of the stuff online is like, oh, because he's too nonchalant. I mean, and he's an introvert. You're not gonna get him to kind of like go out of his like
Right.
comfort circle and stuff like that. I mean, it took a while for Freddie Freeman to kind of get him out of his little comfort circle and stuff like that. Don't you think Kyle Tucker's still trying to get adjusted to life here in LA? Young father is he had a son, right? A son or daughter. I know he's a young father, so he's probably still getting adjusted to
Mhm.
life at home and stuff like that, new city stuff like that. So for me, it is frustrating, but I give him a little bit of leeway. If he continues down this pathway where he's kind of still showing no signs of improvement, maybe my frustrations grow and I'm like, hey, come on, man, we got to like figure it out. Especially like if we're heading towards the All-Star break and he's just had a really bad first half of the season. But then I'd probably lie to myself like, well, the second half of the season, you never know. He could catch fire and stuff like that. So for me, it's just slow little improvements. It might be tough this series, especially with the Braves arms that they're throwing at him,
Mhm.
a Chris Sale and a Strider. So I'd be interested to see how he adjusts and how the team adjusts overall. But I think he's that key piece that connects the top of the lineup to our bottom of the lineup because he was hitting in that four slot.
I think the four slot is the right place for him, and I think that we're going to see things over time. I also think that the 16 million tag over his head didn't do him any favors because that increases the pressure, like to perform at a ridiculous level, getting that kind of money. So it'll all, like I said, balance out. But the man who did have an incredible price tag above his head, Yamamoto, still our ace, right, Anthony? I mean, the guy's incredible. No run support, but he's incredible.
Yeah, he's been awesome to watch go out there and kind of compete. He didn't have like one rough game, but it wasn't too much to kind of get over. These guys go out there and compete. So one bad game, I'm not gonna look through it and be like, oh, he's falling off a cliff. No, it's just one bad game. For me, again, big piece. It's kind of become like a little competition, at least for me, on my perspective watching Glasnow, watching Shohei, and watching Yamamoto, it feels like there's been a little like competition there as they all aim for the Cy Young. I
Mhm.
feel like that might be the objective between the three. And then you can't forget a guy like Robleski either, whose numbers are going to be there. Maybe not the strikeouts because he really doesn't strike out guys a lot, but whenever Yamamoto gets the ball, it's a treat. It feels like we're back to when Kershaw first was getting those balls early, and you knew once he picked up the ball, like okay, he's going six, he's going seven, and he might only give up three hits, and he might not have any run support in his favor, but hopefully, when it matters most, they do give him the run support. So I mean, it's frustrating. It'll always be frustrating when you have an ace here in LA because we all know the story. It's been oldest told us from years on that if you're the ace of the Los Angeles Dodgers, this offense will not provide any run support.
It's tale as old as time with us, but it'll again. It look what happened at the end of the day. We still have back to back titles, and Yamamoto still went out there fully knowing that they don't ever give him run support. He still got it done for us. But some pitchers that I was pretty impressed with because we obviously didn't expect to see Glasnow pull himself out of the game due to his back really early on. He was warming up in the second, I guess just before the second inning, and that's when he said it gave out, and so we had to see an immediate pivot to the bullpen, starting with Jack Dreyer. Tell me your impressions of the bullpen, especially because they essentially was a bullpen game. Being
Yeah.
best.
The bullpen's been awesome. They've had a few blowups, but it's been far less than I think a lot of people kind of put out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they when they blow up, they do definitely blow up though. It's not like it's been just like one guy. No, like when one guy blows up, it feels like everyone else behind them immediately just blows up as well too. But that's not an easy thing to do, especially with short notice, going two innings, and you're like, okay, immediate bullpen game. But every guy stepped up, and the bullpen has been a very big strength for them going forward, at least this season. I feel like every guy that comes out of there, I think the only guy I really don't trust in the bullpen is Enriquez, but he kind of has a role of kind of like mop up duty of like if the game's out of reach, that's kind of his time to like kind of go in there. Or
Yeah.
in this case, in the game against the Astros, is like okay, it's a bullpen game all of a sudden, and you can eat some innings, and you're basically gonna go out there and you're gonna eat some innings basically. We do have some reinforcements in the bullpen coming back. Gratterall is back in OKC, kind of getting his work in. Brock Stewart came back up, yes or not? Yes, yeah, yesterday, and kind of looked impressive in his little short stint.
Uh-huh.
So there's going to be a lot of names in the bullpen. Can't forget an Evan Phillips, who's on the mend right now. We might have him in the second half of the season. Could you imagine the second half of the season, your bullpen gets Evan Phillips and Edwin Diaz back? So it kind of solidifies your your late game options and your high leverage guys. So right now, I think it's kind of just like, all right, we need you guys to kind of hold the lines basically until our big guns get back.
Second half of the season's going to be amazing. And I really love that, one of the traditions of the Dodgers is like they do have the next man up mentality. When one goes down, we do have the depth to bring up, the next one, and they're able to. But yeah, with the Glasnow situation, obviously we still have to wait for more news. But he had a really cool accolade just before he left the game. I guess he is, the fastest starting pitcher to 1,000 strikeouts. So that's kind of a cool little thing that he earned himself prior to leaving. And I know we're going to see some more great stuff from Glasnow. But yeah, definitely shout out to the bullpen for making it happen when they were not expecting to go out that soon. But yeah, kind of like turning our attention to another injury that we wanted to kind of talk about. And I think that we're probably not going to see this one for a little bit, but Tommy Edman. I guess he's still sore, feeling soreness still. And per Fabian Ardaya, he's going to be on a quote slow program. So are we just going to see him in playoffs, Anthony? That's what it's shaping up to be?
It feels like it's trending towards second half of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been frustrating the Edmund part because it feels like once he gets ramped up, he like immediately starts feeling something. And this could just be general, just soreness. Like he started working out and like he woke up the next day. I'm like, hey, like I feel good, but like my ankle it's a little bit sore. Like, can we just take like a day or two or like a week just to kind of like get it like some fresh time and like put no pressure on it. So it is frustrating, especially with soreness. It's not something that you can goes away right away. You're sometimes sore for a couple days, and then out of nowhere, like, all right, I feel fine. Like, let's give it a go, basically. So it has been a frustrating that term slow progression. I feel like heard it for basically everyone. Blake Snell is at the end of his slow progression. He'll probably be joining the team within the next few days. Maybe by the time we record the next episode, he might already have his start. So stuff like that. But the slow progression era, I'm officially over it. I'm tired of hearing slow progression or progressing slowly, whatever way you want to phrase it. But a lot of the guys have been progressing slow or progressing fast now. You have Kike down in AAA.
Mhm.
Mookie could be back with the team on Monday, stuff like that. So I think more of our long term guys are finally healthy, and it's just getting the last of them to kind of reach them.
It's exciting. I love seeing I guess, the news that it looks like we're just around the corner. So that should make May and June a little fun, just kind of praying for the continued health because obviously, like, we have an amazing team, but there's definitely players that they want to stay super healthy for the second half. So, but here's a fun one that I just saw this week, and I think maybe you myself may have posted on social media. But can we talk about Michael Conforto for a second? Because I mean, this man, right? He's like obviously he's a Cub now. He's currently an NLOPS leader. He's in the top three. With minimum 40 at bats, this man has a 324 batting average and a 1.060 OPS. Why did he turn into the player that he should have been with us last year? Please make it make sense to me.
I can't. He had a walk off homer like a couple days ago as well too. I remember producer Raj sent that in the group text. I don't know how to explain it. Some guys just play better at different ballparks than they do here.
Okay.
I'll give him this though. Like for all the crap that he took, he never said one bad thing about the fans. Never said one bad thing about the organization. It was actually kind of sad to see that he got his ring kind of like pregame. There was no really a big announcement, but you kind of figured like what the crowd reaction would kind of been. I think we could have been good enough to kind of give a respectable golf clap, basically at that kind of like that, and like just move forward. But I don't know. Some guys just aren't meant to be Dodgers, and that's perfectly fine. They can't wear the jersey. It just doesn't look right on them. I think for him, I just think he never felt comfortable. I don't know if it was just he had like every opportunity basically given to him, and then finally at the very end, like towards the end of the season, they're like, we just can't have you on the postseason roster. You're costing us games and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think he'll look at it as like it was an opportunity to win a championship, and he succeeded. He won a championship. So now he kind of just has an opportunity to play out the rest of his career in Chicago or wherever he goes after that.
I wish him well. I mean, credit to him for not being a total a-hole because he could have been.
He
We were
could have 100% been, yeah. But I also think he's not a very big presence on social media, so he probably just didn't see it.
true. That's true. Social media is a cesspool of BS, and they were not nice to him. I wasn't nice to him, but I wish him well as a Cub. And yeah, your theory is right. I think it's kind of in line with what I was thinking. Not everyone's meant to be a Dodger. Just because you come to LA doesn't necessarily mean that you will be successful. Some people are they're just going to thrive on other teams, and that's the right move for them. So credit to him. He's got a ring. He's a champion for life. Just not going to be a Dodger. Okay, here's another one I want to ask you about this week. The MLB news was all ablaze with the Framber Valdez story, intentionally hitting story of all things. I obviously suspended. What was your take on that whole situation?
Framber Valdez is not a good guy. That's
Oh
basically been my take
my
since
God.
ever since he crossed up his rookie catcher for getting upset for him, like telling him to step off, and then he proceeds to throw a fastball. I think it was a fastball right down the pipe, and he gets taken yard, and he crosses him up. That kind of tells you like the kind of guy that he is. Not a good guy. There's a reason he only had a 3-year deal and he wasn't getting like 8-year, 9-year, 10-year deal that he was seeking. A lot of major league teams know who you are as a person, and this kind of solidified that. Like you're getting beat up in the game, and it was very intentional too. You can clearly tell because like the catcher's reaction, he's like, "Bro, like why'd you do that?" Basically, like you could tell right away that's not the pitch I called. Like why'd you do that? And like his teammates were out there because they have to be out there. They kind of have to go get their guy, but you can clearly tell in their faces too, and you're looking around like, dude, we know like he
Mm,
did that on his own. That's not on us. Like it's not intentional here and there. And like the Tigers are slowly like kind of falling apart. Um, what's his name? Justin Verlander is hurt. Tarek Skubal is hurt.
hurts.
The ace of your team is Jack Flaherty, and I love Jack Flaherty, but he's not going to be able to keep him at bay basically for the rest of the season until those guys get healthy. So I don't know with Valdez, and it comes back to sign stealing as well too. Back to our Astros conversation of 10 years ago, but I think if you do it on the field, I have no problem with that, especially if you have tells and stuff like that. I think that's one of the things that I saw a video of like Sasaki, not Sasaki, Yamamoto and Otani talking about Sasaki, like, hey, like the way he's holding his glove is kind of giving teams a idea, like, hey, the splitter's
Yes.
coming or like the fastball's coming and stuff like that. That's all part of the game. Like if I'm standing at second base and you see Andy Pajes do it, like when he throws his hand out in the air, he's like kind of signaling like, "Hey,
Yep.
curveball," or like no, nothing fastball, stuff like that. I think that's all fair game.
It is fair.
Now, if you get like butt hurt about it, like Valdez did, basically, that's on you. You got to be better at like mixing your pitch signals. And now with pitch calm and stuff like that, wouldn't you think it'd be easier to kind of like hide signs from guys and stuff like that instead of being so obvious? So I don't know. That was the moment where like I hate it's like baseball being baseball, but I think that was just a guy kind of being like a lone assassin against a baseball team, and like the Red Sox were very obviously pissed, and it's very funny. Like a lot of the guys I followed Jaron Duran not on Twitter on Instagram, and he was like posting a lot of like kind of like poignant stuff, like just highlights of like them taking like Valdez deep, basically just over and over again, which is hilarious. Them being petty on that side, so. I don't know. It's not good for the game when you're like head hunting, especially at throwing 100 miles per hour at a guy's head. I know to hit him up in the upper back, but that's not. I don't think that's where he was aiming. He clearly aiming for the back of his head. So it sucks that it had to happen.
It does suck. And I feel so bad for Jack. Jack Flaherty is one of my favorite players. I just love him. I love what he did for us. He's like a Rourke vet for me. I just adore him. I'll always adore him no matter where he is. But Detroit, man, I was thinking about Tarek Skubal. I guess he has like they said it's like said it earlier, loose bodies. He's in a contract year. And what gets me is when, you know, how obsessed we were with the WBC for a whole year talking about, you know, Team Mexico, Team USA. And the man did not go all in on Team USA, you know, during the WBC for kind of like to avoid the thing that he's dealing with now, essentially. And I mean, makes me think about it doesn't matter if you're one of the top pitchers in the game, you just don't know when injury could be around the corner. And, you know, this makes me think about what's been the story with Shohei this week and this past week, because, you know, you have Shohei, a two-way player, top of his game, but there's talk of, you know, should he not consistently bat on the days he pitches? And there's kind of like, looks like that's going to be a plan going forward to really, essentially, in my mind, preserve him. Although we always know that Shohei's, you know, about top of his game and he has saying what he does. But right now he's currently an ERA leader with 0.97, obviously on a Cy Young trajectory. But do you think that the way that Shohei pushes himself to be the best, do we have 2 years, 3 years? Is we going to stay on this plan of him not batting on the days that he pitches? I mean, just to kind of preserve his length, because you just never know with injury.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan going forward. Ultimately, when the games matter most, he will be doing both. I think right now, early on in the season, you kind of just want to rein him in,
Right.
especially because he's kind of chasing that Cy Young, and you're like, okay, if you really want this, like, we'll focus solely on like pitching the first half of the season, and like in the second half of the season, we want you kind of doing both so you don't get rusty at both. So I think ultimately it's a Shohei decision. He's gonna tell you like how he feels and how he feels like if he feels good enough to do both or if he just wants to do one, stuff like that. Ultimately, long term, I think in the long term, when we come to like year 7, 8, 9 of Shohei, I think he's solely gonna be just a batter, a DH. I don't think he'll be doing both, or maybe he just it really depends on how healthy his arm can stay. If there's a noticeable decline in like velocities and stuff like that, like I love Kirsch. I'll use Kirsch for example. Like he was always used to pump like high 90s, and then towards the end, he told you, I'm gonna give you all 88 of these mile per hours, and you're gonna enjoy it basically. So I think it's ultimately it comes down to a numbers game, right? If his velocity in year I don't know 9 is less to what it is now, it should be. He'll be a much older and he'll have 10 years on him and stuff like that. You kind of ultimately make the decision like, hey, like we did this for so long. I think it's better if you just stick solely as a DH. And like at that time, who knows who's the face of the Dodgers rotation at that point? Maybe it's a bunch of younger guys that are in middle school right now. We just don't know who they are and stuff like that. So it's kind of ultimately right now like, okay, let's chase as many championships as we can, and then long term, it's a numbers thing. Like, okay, like you're just a better pitcher than you are, or a better hitter, or you are now. So let's solely focus on that.
I mean, you got to ask yourself the question like, we'll know when it's time, they'll know when it's time. But would you rather have Shohei at least doing one thing really well or no things at all if he gets injured and then we don't have him? So I think we have to remember that Shohei is it's not just about making money. I mean, obviously the championships it's a combination of everything. The fan base and the people that buy tickets. I mean, at all stadiums, not just Dodger Stadium. Who are they coming to see? This Shohei Ohtani, the era of Shohei. It's huge. It's global. So definitely want to think about how do we preserve this man, because as amazing as he is, we have to all remember he's still human, and humans are prone to injury. And I want to see as much as we can get as Shohei, because that's what keeps me, I just work to go to Dodger games at this point. Like that's all I care
Yeah.
about. I want to go see Shohei Ohtani and, this era, because I talk to people at the stadium all the time. There's going to be a time when we're not seeing this. Yeah, it might still be great Dodger baseball after 10 years, after 8 more years, but this is the Shohei era and it is exceptional. So glad to know the Dodgers are thinking about that and preserving him for us for the long term. Yeah, that kind of turns our attention to how amazing May is going to be outside of just baseball. The Dodgers are going to kill it this month with promotions. This was one of the months I circled on my calendar when I saw like, oh my God, how much money am I going to spend on tickets this month? It is insanity. So just to kind of give you an idea, I know that you're well aware of these, but I mean, I guess we're going to be playing against the Giants again this month, and that's when they decided to really just hone in on their World Series, like in your face giveaways. But starting tomorrow, they've got Miguel Rojas bobblehead, which is going to be crazy popular. You've got the Blake Snell series, starter series bobblehead coming up this weekend. Next week, you've got the replica trophy, the Ice Cube Lowrider. I'm definitely going to that one. Gold championship jerseys, which are really cool. That's going to include Rojas, Snell, Roki, Roberts, and Glasnow. The Vesia bobblehead and the Teo throwing seeds bobblehead. Okay, that's just so much. Now, I don't know if you're going to any of those games. I think I'm going to hit 3 or 4 of those at least. Of all of those, what are like your top 2, like must go to if you're like, going to have to narrow down to 2 games? Which ones are the top ones? They're all great, but what are the best ones?
For me, originally it was Miguel Rojas bobblehead. I'm not gonna be able to go to that game anymore. I got some prior commitments. But I'd probably put Teoscar's bobblehead up there.
So cute.
I think he's gonna be a unique player in this like run, just because like if you say the name Teoscar Hernandez, I think you get a lot of positives, but you also get a lot of negatives as well too from the fan base. But overall, I think the positives far outweigh the negatives and stuff like that. So I kind of circle that one, and I kind of circle around the jerseys. Even though I have one, it's kind of unique. Kind of get a nice, unique like look at jerseys and stuff like that. I know last year the big thing was that Miguel Rojas had a ring giveaway, and like people were like upset about getting a Miguel Rojas ring, but I bet you those people that have that ring now are kind of happy, like, oh yeah, look, I got a Rojas ring and stuff like that. So I think you can't be picky about like the player you get. Yeah, a lot of people make trades and stuff like that in the stadium. It's kind of cool to see that too as well. But I feel like you kind of get what you get and you don't get upset, kind of cliche. So I think I would circle those two. There's also like a ton more throughout the whole season that like I wish I can go to all of these. I'm actually gonna try to see if I can go to that Ice Cube lowrider game. I think that's kind of a unique one as too. The
Yeah,
one I'm not gonna go to is the replica World Series trophy because I already got one. The
yeah.
only difference is the 2024 is 2025. It's the exact same giveaway basically. I think I'm good on that one.
I'm good with you. I think we were at that game the same day. I
Yeah.
do have that right behind me, but yeah, actually, because my dad is actually one of the band members of the song Lowrider. So my family's like, that's the one you have to go. So I am going to for sure go to that one. And then I'm 99% sure I'm going tomorrow. I don't have a Miguel Rojas bobblehead, and like fun fact, when the playoffs are on, we line up the bobbleheads at my house in the lineup order. It's like our tradition, and we burn candle. I bought candles, because I guess I do witchcraft during the playoffs to make they. I've done it for 2 years in a row, and we've won, so I'm not going to stop this year. And I put their candles right behind them. And last year we didn't have a Miguel Rojas one, so my brother's like, we gotta pick one. So we found the mascot bobblehead from way back in the day, and that's where we put for Miguel Rojas on game 6 and 7. We placed him right there and won. So this year my family's like, get the Miguel Rojas one. So that's probably going to be one for tomorrow. But of all of the jerseys, I don't know if I'm going to that one. Rojas, Snell, Roki, Roberts, Glasnow. If you could go through the gates and get one of those, which one would you want to get of all those?
I think. See, I think the one I'd get most upset about getting, and it's not a shot at him, is probably Dave, because
Okay.
he's the manager. Yeah, I think it's kind of like I kind of want an active player. I don't want the manager's jersey. Even though you see like a few Lasordas walking around and stuff like that at the stadium.
Yeah.
I think the guy, it has to be Miguel Rojas because I wouldn't get the chance to get his bobblehead, and like the jersey's kind of similar to it, and it kind of brings back the memories of what happened in Game 6 and in 7.
I like it. Yeah, he's one of my favorite people and players. He always throws a ball to my. This is a fun fact too. Number two, my cousin had and my uncle have field level seats right behind Dave Roberts for for the games, and they go to about 10 games a year. So it's not like the total all season, but every single time when Miguel Rojas is warming up, he always throws a ball to my cousin Skylar. He spots him and he throws a ball. So I don't know how many Miguel Rojas balls, and my cousin's given me one. I have had it signed by him, and so has my family. He's such a nice guy. He's an incredible human being as a person, and always, and everyone I've known who's interacted with him. So if I'm going to get anything, it's definitely Miguel Rojas, and he's worth the money spent, especially tomorrow. But yeah, that brings us to the series this weekend. We're playing the Braves. We've obviously talked about the pitching rotation that they're going to throw out there and that they're going to be a big challenge. But what do you think we're going to walk away with when it's all said and done? This weekend's over. Who wins the series? What do you think? How do you think the Dodgers do against them?
I honestly think all three games are going to be close. I don't think any team is going to necessarily run away with it. Even though I know the guys that we have throwing aren't necessarily pitching at their best, apart from Robleski. But honestly, I think we're going to win the series 2-1. I think we're going to win the Robleski game, and I'm going to go out of a limb and say we're going to win the Sasaki game. I think that one is going to be one of those games where he's going to be on, and they're going to have no answer for him, and the Dodgers are going to do just enough to win the game. So I'm going to go Dodgers win the Atlanta series 2-1. And the MVP for that series is going to be, what am I going to put it on? Hmm. You know what? I think Kim's going to have a big series. I think
Okay.
so. He's kind of like he's one of those names that I see on the lineup, and I'm like, he's gonna do something for us today. And I don't think he's gonna go back to AAA. I think he's kind of like solidified himself up here on the big league team. So I think he's gonna do something big for us in this series, whether it's a stolen base or stuff like that.
I like it. I like it. I'm also going to go 2-1, and I think our MVP, I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling like Smith is going to have a big month of May. So Will Smith's going to hit some, and I'll ask you this as a final question, but I think he's going to hit some rockets against the Atlanta Braves. But do you think that our team is getting a little too home run reliant overall, or do you think they should play a little more small ball here and there,
A
especially?
little bit more small ball would be helpful. I feel like most of their big innings have come from just moving the baton, passing it along, single here and there, double here and there. They are a little reliant on the home run ball, but overall, I think it'll all balance itself out when more of our contact hitters are back on the lineup.
Love it. All right, so that kind of brings us to the end of the show. Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend here in LA at the Ravine. But what are your final thoughts as we get ready to close this out?
Final thoughts. It's a really conflicting series. The Braves and the Dodgers, I've mentioned it, at least here in this household. It used to mean so much more when my grandfather was alive. It's going to be extra special because it is Mother's Day weekend. I don't know if we'll be able to go to the game, but we'll be watching here from home. So I'm excited. Hopefully, again, this is me begging. They play good competitive baseball. I don't get upset as long as they play competitive and give themselves a chance to win. I get upset when they go out there and they lollygag and they sleepwalk through the entirety of the game and they basically try to pass the final at the ninth inning and try to do everything possible to win the game when it's too late, basically.
Yeah, like when they are down to their last 2 outs and they finally decide to wake it up. Let's not do that. So hopefully we have some competitive and fun baseball. Would be a good time to start it. So yeah, right. My sister's going to be hosting Mother's Day this year, so we're going over to her place, not the stadium. I think it's a Mother's Day tote. So interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. But for the mothers that are out there, Dodger fans or not, we wish everyone a happy Mother's Day that is a mom, and maybe people who are not moms, because you could be a dog mom too, and you can, still have a mother figure in your life that may not be a biological mom. So to all the women out there who are mother figures, our moms, your mom, Anthony, and all the grandmas, aunts, and everyone, happy Mother's Day. Don't forget to check out DodgersBeat.com for all the latest articles from Steve and Cody. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel for the Bleed Lows podcast. We've got some great interviews. I think tonight there was a producer Roger's going to be putting up some content from, I think it was the Will Smith Catching Hope Foundation.
Yeah.
Night, right? So that should be some really fun content to check out from producer Raj. And make sure to check out our handles. You can find me, Drea, on Instagram and X at Ravine Queen 1958. You can find Anthony on X and Instagram at Anthony Acosta _. And until next week, let's go Dodgers.